Is your resume ATS friendly? Is it performance driven? And does it sell you to your optimum? Today, I'm going to take you on a journey of this 3-page resume, talking about the different sections briefly, and then there will be further videos going into them in more detail. You will, by the end of all these series of videos, you will know what an ATS-friendly, performance-driven, sales-oriented resume CV looks like for you to get the interview. So let's kick it off with the start. So let me get my pointer here. So the first thing is you have your name at the top, and then you have your acronyms for your degrees and designations beneath that. We used to put it next to the name, but now if I put MBA next to your name, the ATS will think your name is MBA. Then you have your city and state or country where you live, and then you have your coordinates, and I will go into more detail about how to reach you, all the different coordinates, in the next video. A line space to capture, to draw the attention of the HR professional or the executive recruiter into the nitty-gritty. This is the substance of your sales pitch to whoever, talking about yourself. Don't be humble, be salesperson. So this is the only forward-thinking part of a resume, because a resume is a historical document. It takes you from today backwards, and then a cover letter takes you from today forwards. Cover letters written in the personal pronoun, the word I, my, he or she, and should always accompany a resume or a CV. Then next to that, I'll have the title of the position. So this is a generic title. So if you are to send to an executive recruiter, they might not have a job for you right now. In fact, they probably don't. But then they slot you into one of their projects, as they call them, later on when they've got your resume, if it's stored in that ATS and if it comes out the other end. If it's not ATS, it won't come out when they're looking for talent, just like you. So you have the generic one, and then tomorrow, if this client here saw Vice President of Supply Chain Operations, he would put Vice President of Supply Chain Operations. Then you would have the top 4 or top 5 hard skills. That's the skills they are looking for in that particular job, and I will detail that in the next video. And then we have your personal brand. I'm really passionate about personal branding. That is your 15, 17 or 19 word statement. What is your value add? What is your differentiator? What is your competitive edge? Give me a compelling, a striking, resonating reason why I should employ you if I was looking for talent just like you. Then we have a line, and we go into a block paragraph, 4 to 6 lines, block paragraph, 4 to 6 lines. The 4 key ingredients in this paragraph are: what one word would describe you, and I will talk about that further in a more detailed video. What one word would describe you. Describe your leadership style. How do you lead? Because as you know, we all lead differently. How do you communicate? There again, we all communicate differently. So articulate how you communicate. And then finally, what are you renowned for in business? Not to be duplicated from your personal brand. And I will break that down into more detail in the next video. Then we go into, this is crucial, that ATS is also a database. So if your resume is stored in somebody's ATS system, what they do is they type in business, functional, skill, level, industry, and sometimes geography, buzzwords or keywords that are pertinent to you, your hard skills, not your soft skills, which are your personal skills, your hard skills. So we have them out here. So we go into, if you're in the leader, one of the words you must have is executive leadership. And I will break them down into another section, another video. Then if you can speak other languages, that is a good sales proposition. So there are 3 different grades of language, how confident you are in language. Are you fluent? Are you advanced or are you intermediate? Basic you tend to leave out, but show your languages on the first page. People bury it on the third page, and for a casual glance, when they're screening resumes, 1,500 resumes or whatever, you won't come out. So you need to emphasize your languages. Now this is a resume for an Executive MBA, In the next few weeks, I will write my 3,000th resume for an EMBA. I'm passionate about helping Executive Master of Business Administration graduating from business schools across the world advance their careers. So we would go into a section here called Academic Value Add or Academic Differentiator. Then you put Executive Master of Business Administration and in brackets EMBA. You put the business school, sometimes I put it beneath, this case is HSA in Paris. You put the year you graduate. So if you're currently a candidate, you put class of 2027 or 2026. And then if you do a capstone project or end of EMBA project, you outline that, or a thesis. You talk about that capstone project in there. I've yet to see any EMBA resume with a capstone project or any other project written into it. So you need to emphasize that because some of your capstone projects are unbelievable. Then we go into a new section and I call it the career milestones. Career milestones. These are your top 2 or top 3 accomplishments. You are going to be recruited for your next job because you can make the money, save the money, and streamline operations, eliminate headcount. There are many, many reasons, and you need to articulate those accomplishments from now on in because that is very, very important. So here we are at the career milestones. Page 1, you're allowed 3 bullets, each of 2 lines. 3 bullets, each of 2 lines for the career milestones. So if you can get metrics, dollar values, percentiles, euro values, pound values, or whatever your currency in your country, get as many metrics as you can into your resume completely. Then we go into the nitty-gritty of the resume. This is where people vastly undersell themselves. They have no idea on how to sell themselves. They are being very humble, or they are like 15, 20 or 30 years ago, they are explaining their responsibilities. If I was a recruiter or an HR professional, I'm not interested in your responsibilities. I'm interested, as I said earlier on, make me money, save me money, eliminate headcount, introduce new systems and processes, resurrect my business, resurrect morale and productivity and whatever. So there's a whole list of things that you've done that you probably don't articulate on a resume. So I don't call myself an executive resume writer anymore. I call myself a storyteller. So on behalf of my clients, I tell their stories based on the acronym, and many people have probably heard this, called STAR. Situation, task, action, result. Now ATS is very, very particular. 1 character wrong, 1 line wrong, and 1 bullet wrong, and you are gone. You can't have shading, you can't have underlines, you can have hyperlinks. One of the restrictions here for me as a resume writer is that I can only have one block of text of 4 lines or more, and the rest now has to be 3 lines. So the next 2 pages, page 2 and 3, all the bullets have to be 3 lines maximum. Don't go to 4 lines. If you have 1 character on 4 lines, that ATS will wipe you out and you won't be given the advantage of having an interview. So keep it to 3 lines. Always, this is where you need to come out of your shell and you need to tell a very compelling story. Start off with an action verb, a very powerful action verb, and tell the situation, the task, the action and the result. So what I do is I break it down. situation, the task, and then going on to page 2 would be the action and the result. Always start off with that different action verb. Try never to repeat an action verb between page 1 and page 2. You can repeat it between page 1 and page 3. So the classic example I want to highlight here today is, I see so many sales resumes. By the way, sales, marketing and human resources are the world's worst resume writers. So I see so many sales resumes. Increased, boring. That is very, very boring. I'm interested in you thinking out of the box. What about catapulted? What about propelled? What about boosted? What about elevated? What about raised? What about uplifted? So there are so many different action verbs for one word, and that is what's going to make you stand out. You only get one chance. There is only a trophy for number 1. There's not a trophy for number 2. There's only one job available for every job you apply for. So you need to customize it to each job. Okay, we've flipped the page now onto number 2, page number 2. So always, without doubt, at the top of the page, whatever page it is, page 2 or page 3, have your name, have the acronyms for your degrees. You can actually put your email here as well. And then have page 2 or page 3 in the right hand corner, because if they print it off at the other end, they have maybe 100 other resumes, and you know what it's like when you've got a desk full of resumes or paperwork. Your resume could get split between 2 or 3 different other resumes. You want it to stay, you want the reader, whoever they may be, to keep them 3 pages, to keep the 3 pages. So we have the title of the company here, and we put continued, and then we go into that STAR. Remember I talked about STAR: situation, task, action, result. Think of yourself as a STAR. When you are authoring, writing your resume, you need to really do a lot of brainstorming. Think about all the accomplishments that you've had in the last 12 to 15 years. Use your work appraisals, your annual appraisals, as a cheat sheet. They might trigger something in your mind. Ask your colleagues, well, what do you think my number 1 accomplishment was at ABC company or XYZ company? And then outline it in detail. Don't just have a one-liner. Explain in the STAR format: situation, task, action, result. So we covered the first bullet in the previous page, and now we go down here. So you're allowed a maximum, as I said a few minutes ago, you're allowed the maximum of 3 lines. Don't go to 4 lines, because that's the way you're going to kill that ATS. And then we go to another STAR story and another STAR story. Then we go to, this guy was promoted from within. So I haven't put the name of the title of the company here. We just put the title of his second position, the previous position, the dates he held those title, that title, and the number of direct reports, indirect reports, your CapEx budget or OpEx budget, and your P&L. And there again, we go again into that STAR format. So you've got to embrace STAR, because if you don't embrace STAR and selling yourself, you will lose out. There are other better salespeople, may not have all the skills that you have to get that job, but because they sell themselves better, they might get that job or get the interview, and you might be missed out. And then same for ATS. If you don't have an ATS-friendly resume, no shading, no underlines, the list goes on. It's like a whole long laundry list. You will be gone. So now we're going to flip the page to page 3. So here we are at page 3. Now, we're almost there, but just a little tip going off the resume. If you are to write your resume yourself, it takes about an hour and a half per year. So if you're talking about 20 years, you're going to spend 30 hours writing your resume. Don't do it in a day. Think about it, brainstorm, plan it, and then think about how you're going to format it and how you're going to write it. Make it enticing, because you only have one chance not a second chance. So here we go. So we're going to continue. We got ABC company here, and the continued, which you do for all the second page and the third page, unless you're starting off a company at the top. And then you go into a star. And then this is the third position that this guy was, this client was, had at this particular company. So a senior manager, hyphen, freight, business, performance and automation, and the dates. And then we go into his, the only responsibilities they are looking for is your number of direct reports, indirect reports, your CapEx budget, your OpEx budget, and your P&L. And certain cases, number of offices or warehouses or sites or whatever. Star, star, star again in the next job, and then we scan it down. Don't go on infinitum. They're only interested in the last 12 to 14 years. Or 15 years maximum. Don't go way back to the 90s. Just keep it, just really cut it back. So prior appointments in France, and then the dates, and then the titles of the job. And then we go into his other designation, because remember on page 1 I highlighted he has an Executive MBA, an EMBA. So his other professional development, his other education is a Master of Science, and from the university and the country and the year he graduated. And that's it. So make sure that you have an ATS-friendly, performance-driven resume. If you ever want a free, no obligation resume critique, or you're struggling pulling out those, so many people are pulling out those accomplishments, I'm more than happy to go through your resume with you by offering a free, no obligation resume or CV critique anywhere in the world by Zoom for 30 minutes. Please send your resume, your CV to the address below, and we will contact each other.